and salutation, fellow citizens. Once again, this is your friend and brother, Dr. Haruna Goro, Nigeria. Greetings and salutation, fellow citizens. Once again, this is your friend and brother, Dr. Haruna Goro, Nigeria, our country. We cannot afford to go to war at any time. We remember the Civil War. We know what we've been through. We know what we have suffered, many loss of lives, and we cannot afford another drop of blood of an innocent Nigerian in the name of going to restore democracy in Niger. When we are struggling in our own nation here, when we have a president that he's been a president is still questionable. The case is still with the tribunal. We are waiting for the judgment. And so we don't want trouble in Nigeria. And I'm so happy that the legislators are not buying this idea of going to invade an innocent nation. We have too much trouble. We are talking about Fulani headsmen terrorizing people, killing people in entire communities, IDP camp, even in the Federal Capital Territory. And now we're talking about going to Niger. The people are happy with what has happened there. I don't support military rule because I remember what we suffered for so many years, one coup after the other, and we don't want that anymore. However, to avoid this evil, this wickedness, politicians need to do the right thing. Why should politicians force themselves on the citizens? The citizens don't want you, but you want to force yourself there through rigging, through buying votes, and you do everything in your power to make sure you cling onto power against the wish of the people. You don't mind how many people die in the process. I'm happy that Nigerians are not buying this idea of Tinubu saying that ECOWAS is saying they must make sure they send the military there. Our military have been dying. They cannot even face Boko Haram. They can't handle the insecurity that we are suffering in Nigeria. Then you want to go and poke nose. You want to go and stir up trouble across border. It must not happen. Don't use the strategy of distraction to get our attention away so that Tinubu can cling onto power. It will not happen. Nigerians refuse it. Join the senators in saying no. Join the rest of the Nigerians to say, we want peace within our own borders. We don't want to go and be part of what is happening elsewhere. Solve our own problem before you talk about Niger. Many Nigerians are not happy with President Tinubu because the mandate he's holding is a stolen mandate. We all knew what Mahmoud Yakubu did, a man that kept promising. They were promising. He even went to the UK in Chatham House, facing the whole world and saying that this 2023 election was going to be their most credible. They don't want to disenfranchise people. And that's why they came up with the idea of uploading real time. He said it over and over and over. Now I is trying to tell people that it will take how to bring out the result. What a shame. What message are you passing to upcoming generation? That one can make a promise and break his promise. One can lie, broad daylight, facing people and lie to them and not care whatever the outcome will be because they have been bribed. How do we know that what people look at and who are the people that are excited? The few that are benefiting from this evil, wicked system of corruption, system of rigging of election. Why should any Nigerian be surprised with what is going on? Tinubu went and hired people from the street that were not bishops, made them to dress like bishops so that he can talk to the Christians. They were doing Muslim, but if you know that the Christians' voice also mattered, their interests also count, why did you bring false bishop I don't know why Nigerians can't see. It was very obvious that Tinubu was bent on becoming president by hook and by crook. Whatever will stand in his way, he will bulldoze. He will use money. He will use thugs. He will use whatever he can use. Because he said, I made Buhari president with the promise that after him, I will be the one. And they were trying to cut corners and stop him from becoming president. That's why he came out and shouted, Emi Lokon, it's Yoruba's turn, and among the Yorubas, it's my turn. So when he noticed it wasn't working, he started using whatever he could find, bribing whosoever he could bribe. Bribe Mahmoud Yakubu, a man who promised before God and man that they will make sure they upload the result. Never did it. And they used blood result, blank sheet of paper, fake result that they wrote somewhere, and then declared Tinubu. And people like us and many others were saying, don't swear in Tinubu. Wait until the case is over in court. We all remember when the CJN traveled to the UK and he was on a wheelchair. He went to see who? Tinubu, for a pre-arrangement on what they were going to do. People were saying, no, it's a lie, it's a lie. But the truth is coming out now. We are hearing what is going on. And that's why Nigerians, let's not just down there with all that is happening. It's very obvious. Tinubu is not supposed to be in Aso Rock. He did not win election. Nigeria didn't vote for him. It was a stolen election. It was a stolen mandate. And we must stand together and defend our right to have the person that we voted be our president, not somebody that used money to buy us. That's why now, since he used billions or trillions to buy votes, to buy up people, he has to retrieve his money. In case any Nigerian is in doubt as to what I'm talking about, just look at the ministerial list that Tinubu has given to the Senate for approval. It's very obvious. These were the same people that did the dirty job for him. So he's paying them back. What else do you expect? A person that was working against his own party, a traitor, like wicked, such a person that was even before the election, he was one of the election officers that was attached to River State, saying that if he does not do what they ask him to do, his dead body will be taken back to black. If somebody can do that to his own party, why should you guys about what Wike will do? Wike is a wicked man, selfish. All he thinks about is himself. He wanted to be president at all costs. He was for president. When he didn't get that, he turned against Atiku, and then later on he decided he's going to betray Atiku, and that is why he went and started siding with Tinubu, with APC, the same party that he said they brought problem to Nigeria. He actually kind of said, whosoever is in his right mind that will support APC, something is wrong with him. The same person now is running with APC. Everything about Wike is about himself. And he took the G5, confused their mind. Somebody that even said, I can never be a minister. Today, he's fighting and he wants to be a minister. And it's allegedly said, we are hearing rumor. And I'm telling you, anytime there is a rumor, there is some iota of truth. Nigerians investigate. Don't wait for the last minute. Because people like Wike, people like El Rufai, the DSS chief, and many of the people that Tinubu has surrounded himself with, he chose them to play his dirty game. Now the case, we are waiting to hear the judgment from the tribunal. Please, judges of the tribunal, it is said the court or the judges are the last hope of the common man. Don't be bought the same way that Mahmoud Yakubu overnight allowed money to sear his conscience, to make him betray the trust that Nigerians put on him. But I'm telling you, there is judgment day. You will not live forever. You are going to stand before the Creator, all of you, to give account of all the wicked judgments you have released on innocent people. This time around, it's not just about political party. It's not just about Tinubu. It's about Nigerians. People are tired. People have suffered and they are still suffering. Many innocent people are dying. How many more people need to die before you allow justice to prevail? We have got three arms of government: the executive, the legislative, and also the judiciary. When the executive fails, the legislative fails, the last one should be the judiciary. Please do the right thing. We are hearing rumors that somebody like Fashola, together with others, and Wike is one of them, that they already written out the judgment to hand over to the CJN and also to the 5-man panel of judges in the election tribunal court. And if that is true, even if it's a rumor, I want to plead with you, judges. Please let justice prevail. I am begging you in the name of God that created you. I am not threatening you. I am just pleading with you. Remember innocent mothers, widows, orphans, people that should not be dead, but they are dead because of the situation in Nigeria. Please let justice prevail. Don't be bought. Judges of the tribunal, don't be bought. Don't be bought. Don't sear your conscience. Remember, there's posterity. One day, you will stand before God, the Almighty Judge, and give account of every judgment you gave when you were here on earth. Follow the merit of the case. Don't allow them threaten you. Don't allow them force you. Part of the rumor we're hearing is that they already have a plan. Tinubu and his cohorts have a plan to release soldiers or release the police to go and kill anybody that comes out to protest the outcome of the judgment. Don't take Nigerians for a ride. Quietness does not mean foolishness. Nigerians are just waiting for this court case. If you want peace in this nation, please let there be justice. Don't let anybody push you to a corner, promise you whatever. You will not be in this world forever. And you, the army, you, the police, don't let Tinubu use you to kill innocent Nigerians. When people come out in protest, peaceful protest, that is allowed in the Constitution. It is the right of every citizen to stand in defense of their rights and do that peacefully. Nigerians have been peaceful, just waiting for the outcome of the case. NPC said, go to court. So they went to court. What is your problem? What are you trying to hide? If truly you are the winner, let them bring all the evidence. But you know what? Just like Tinubu did, the same way Tinubu did before the election, he wasn't showing up in any debate. He avoided all the interviews, refused to come out, and always sent representatives. Why? Because he knew the game he was playing. He knew what he's used to doing: rigging, buying people, using stolen money to get votes, to get people. And people that are heartless allow themselves to be bought. People like Wike, people like El Rufai, that arranged this whole thing about Muslim ticket for his own selfish ambition. And you knew what El Rufai did to Kaduna State. A wicked man. Many people have died in Kaduna. The blood of the innocent is crying out for vengeance. God may seem quiet, but he has the record of all your evil ways. And very soon, the judgment of God will come on the wicked. And I hear Governor Makinde has also joined them. How can you people be this wicked? You've had your chance. You've eaten a lot of money. You've disenfranchised so many. And you still want to destroy the destiny of upcoming generation. Please, fear God. We are waiting patiently for the outcome of this case. But don't joke with Nigerians. Don't allow yourself just come out and declare anything. Oh no, there's going to be a rerun because you are scared of Tinubu. Did you ever know that what just happened in Niger will happen? Did President Buhari not promise that in case there is trouble in Nigeria, he will just go across the border to Niger? Is he there now? Niger was peaceful. But see what has happened. Because wicked politicians will not care about the people. Everything is about them. But I'm telling you, you can never overpower the voice of the people. When the people unite to take their nation, Nigerians are millions, and you don't care what happens to these innocent millions for your own self-gratification. People are in IDP camp. You don't even go there. There's insecurity. We're not hearing what you're doing. Don't throw Nigeria into flames. Every Nigerian, stand in defense of your nation. You've got no other nation to call your own home. You've got only one nation. Don't let these wicked politicians rob you of enjoying what God has given you in Nigeria. So this is my call. This is my plea. Let justice prevail. You know Tinubu is very, very good at playing this evil game. They are already scamming and planning. In case there is a rerun, he's already setting up people that will do his dirty job. And then people will say, let's go for a rerun with the same INEC officials, with the same Mahmoud Yakubu. They're already planning. So please, don't tempt Nigerians. We want justice. Let justice prevail. It's our time to unite, north to south, east to west, Muslim, Christian, doesn't matter, poor or rich. Let's stand united until we take our nation back from these wicked politicians. Their time and their end has come. Thank you very much. I know it was quite intense, but that's how I feel about the evil and the wickedness going on in this nation. But I believe God helping us, we are freeing ourselves from this wicked, evil, heartless politician. The time of freedom is now. What is impossible with man is possible with God. Remain positive, optimistic, ready to see the birth of a new Nigeria. So I want to say a very, very big thank you for watching this broadcast. Help me by sharing this broadcast with as many people as you can.
The military junta in Niger just rejected U.S. overtures and mediation efforts. The first contact with the military junta by any U.S. official was made through the acting Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland. She didn't even meet the head of the military junta himself. Instead, he sent another general to negotiate with her. But as you know, military guys are always stubborn. They refuse us. They refuse to set a timeline to return to democracy. They refuse, they please not to deal with Russia, although they understand the risk of involving the Wagner forces in Niger. But for now, they are not even thinking of any consequence. What they are focused on is they want to maintain power. This is why it is very necessary for the US to always speak out before any coup happens, to always condemn repressive dictators in civilian garb. This is because these guys and their repressive antics against oppositions and human rights abuses are the major reason people are losing faith in democracy in Africa. Also, the lack of democratic dividends plays a major role. How can people be saying they are practicing democracy, but they don't gain anything from it? The lack of good governance, lack of jobs, massive unemployment, and insecurity, these are things that make people to lose hope. They will support any change, whether it's military coup or anything, just to get out of the status quo. Not that forceful takeover of government is good. No, it is condemnable. In fact, it takes the country backwards instead of forwards. But it's a result of something. It's a cause and effect. If there was good governance in these countries where we have seen military coups in the past, they wouldn't have even ventured to forcefully take over the government. So the United States can start by changing their policy towards Africans. For instance, in Mali, there was an election. That election was flawed and lacked integrity. No one talked about it. Even their constitutional court approved the heist that they call election. What happened after? The military boys forcefully took over power. This same thing happened in Guinea. There was an election that was flawed, but their constitutional court also approved and authorized that election. A few months later, the military struck. So the double standards of the United States is very clear. In the streets of many African countries, the United States have lost a lot of credibility. No one takes them seriously. They see the double standards. Why don't the United States take it seriously like they do in their own country? Look at the way the United States reacted to the January 6th invasion of Congress. Many have been jailed for their involvement in the invasion of the Congress. They have also held a lot of hearings in the Congress. So they don't use the same energy on African leaders who violate the rules of democracy. Yes, Newland made it clear that they will not send aid to a military government, that they are withdrawing all assistance, even military assistance. But these guys don't care. That's why they are military boys in the first place. What they care about now is holding on to power. Whether they will form a transitional government to get back to democracy quickly enough, they will decide that in the future. But right now, their preoccupation is to hold on as long as possible. The same way the United States didn't strongly condemn what happened in Guinea during the elections and also in Mali, it's the same way they didn't strongly condemn what happened in Nigeria during the presidential election. The presidential election in Nigeria was the worst in Nigeria's recent history. Despite the approval of use of technology, Nigeria's Electoral Commission abandoned the use of technology to transmit the results live, which enabled Tinubu and his party to rig the election in their favor. The US government can't say they are not aware of this. They also sent observers who, of course, would have made their reports known, just like the EU did when they released their report. It was exactly the same thing that many observers said. Even local Nigerian observers, they said the same thing. Up till now, they've never made any statement condemning what happened during the election. In fact, they quickly congratulated him. Of course, Biden didn't congratulate him directly. So they are enabling a political coup. When a military one happens in the future, not that we are saying it should happen, they will be the first to condemn it. But these are the processes that lead to them, as we can see in Guinea, Mali, or even to some extent, Niger. Of course, we don't know if that election was rigged or whether it wasn't rigged, but the guy survived a first coup in 2021. The United States should seriously reconsider their foreign policy to Africa. Otherwise, they've lost relevance. Many people don't take them seriously anymore. It's not all about money and giving aid. Look at Niger, all the aid coming from EU, US, many countries. It still doesn't reflect on the country. Look at their country, they are still poor. Their streets are dusty. So where is the dividend of democracy? When will it work? Going this way might reach centuries. They are still this way. So people genuinely believe that they can be emancipated without the United States. If people have that belief, that means the US have lost their relevance. This is the exact same reason people are going towards Russia. They treat them as equals. If you listen to Traore's interview, he said that Russia will always sell them anything they want, unlike the US or Western countries that will give you conditions. Do you know how long it took for the US to sell helicopters and fighter jets to Nigeria under Buhari administration? So when you treat people as if they are not equal to you, that with your money and donations that you can always get what you want, this is the result. It's work that way. People are looking for true emancipation. They want to hold jobs where they will genuinely earn their own money and take care of themselves and families. They want politicians to live decent lives and solve their basic problems like water, like electricity, like good roads, like infrastructure that will enable the growth of the economy. This is what people want. They don't want all this flamboyant lifestyle of politicians who get to power through the back door. They don't even win elections. They are not popular. They believe in their money. They believe that they can use their money to buy everything and get to power. This is equivalent to military coup. In fact, military coup is even better because it's faster. Elections take time and resources to conduct. Look at the time it took INEC to conduct the presidential election. They spent months training their staff. They spent billions purchasing equipment to conduct the election. At the end of the day, they conducted a political coup. And going by their own results, they announced the wrong winner in many states. The evidence is before the Presidential Election Petition Court, who are expected to deliver judgment very soon. If there is good governance in many African countries, the military will never contemplate a coup because it will never be popular with the masses. Yes, if many people are living the good life, they see that the government is spending their money judiciously, and making efforts to better their lives, they will always support such governments. People will never support a corrupt government or people who came to power through the back door. They will never support kleptocrats. They will never support people who their intentions only are to enrich themselves and their friends. They don't ever care about the country. Just like Tinubu, whose election is still contested in the court, the first thing he's about to do is to declare war in Niger. Why? It shows he doesn't care about the Nigerian people, because the conflict will never benefit Nigerians in any way, especially those living at the border states near Niger. So it's obvious that the US foreign policy is not working, despite the billions of dollars they spend in many countries to get the leverage. People still don't like the United States. Most people in Africa see them as having a different standard in their country and having a lower standard in Africa, which is not correct. All humans are created equal. It is in the US Constitution. So why treat Africans differently? It's time US policymakers went back to the drawing board. They need to come back with a better policy in dealing with Africans. You can't fold your hands and feel it doesn't concern you when dictators oppress their citizens in a democracy, which can't happen in the United States. It can never happen. So why do you stand by? Not that you are supposed to invade the countries and do things forcefully, but at least use that same energy you use in condemning military coups. Use that same energy to come down hard on the civilian governments in a democracy that are oppressing their citizens, so that they will change and start giving their people dividends of democracy. They'll start working for their people instead of working for themselves. Is it not better and cheaper to approach it this way, instead of waiting for them to fail and maybe on the verge of their failing, there's a military coup and you start expending energy in negotiations? Forceful takeover of power is not the right way to go, but politicians give the military the excuse to do that all the time. And when there is a military coup, you see people coming out to support them. Why is that? In Nigeria, for instance, sometimes one is forced to make a comparison between a military government and a civilian government. Majority of the infrastructure we have in Nigeria today were built during the military era. Can you beat that? The so-called democracy and the best form of government can deliver infrastructure. How is that possible that a military government delivered more infrastructure than a civilian one in a democracy? Yes, it's very possible, because the politicians are always focusing on non-issues. They're always focusing on frivolities. How can the Speaker of the Federal House of Reps have more than 28 special advisors that do nothing? Most democratic governments are so overbloated. They waste all the money in governance. The cost of governance is too high. Look at the number of ministers and special advisors Tinubu appointed. All these are just wastages. They waste money as if it's their own. Even if it's their own, they won't waste it the way they are wasting Nigerian people's money. When you compare Nigeria of today to Nigeria of 25 years ago, government revenues of today are much higher than 25 years ago. Taxes are much higher compared to 25 years ago. Cost of living is more than 5 times higher than 25 years ago. What about exchange rate? The naira has become worthless compared to 25 years ago. So upon all this, we had better infrastructure 25 years ago than today. 25 years ago, we had a special fund for road infrastructure. Roads were constructed in many places across Nigeria. Today, many federal roads are impassable. So does it mean that military dictators can deliver good governance better than elected government officials? Is that what it means? These military guys ordinarily can't be compared with guys from the private sector, economists, people that have no military background. They're supposed to know better than military guys. But when you make this kind of comparison, you see that military boys performed better than supposed professionals who were supposedly elected by the people. So when this kind of comparison is being made by people, you know that things have really gone out of hand. This is where the problem lies. The problem is not just the military coups. The major problem is the lack of good governance. Why do politicians give military guys the opportunity and the excuse to strike? That's the main thing. If there is good governance, no one will strike. It will be very unpopular that they themselves might even run away. So going forward, it is expected that US policymakers should make amends and come back with a better policy. If they really don't care about what people think about the United States, their reputation, of course they do. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be spending all that money to buy influence. Yes, if you give someone money to buy influence, the person will oblige you. But after spending those billions, you still find out that you don't have the influence that you spend that money to buy. And also now at the risk of losing the military base in Niger, because the military junta are still insisting that the US and France close down their military bases in Niger. The more Western countries pressure Niger, the more people think, what's so interesting about Niger? Is there anything special that people don't know in Niger? Thanks for watching.
Welcome everybody. Happy today is what, Tuesday? Happy Tuesday. Kene, welcome. Oh. And you first come today. That's amazing. I sent you champagne. Drink to your heart's merry. Oh my God.
Everyone's talking about is the massive pipeline that is nearly set to go online. Now, it starts in Nigeria. It flows through Niger on its way up into Europe. Chevron, the United States, have already invested $13 billion into this pipeline. And guess what, guys? After the Nord Stream pipeline destruction, Chevron stepped up production to get this up and running. Hey, we'll speed this up. We'll fast track this. And now the people of Niger are saying, wait a second. Why are we going to allow a pipeline to flow right through our country so Europe can have natural gas? You are doing nothing for us. You continue to steal from us. Sorry, no more pipeline. This is why Europe is terrified this morning. The United States already blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, put their own pipeline into action in Africa. It's a smart business move, right? We'll just blow up the competition. Imagine Walmart doing that to Target stores. Yeah, we're just going to blow up those stores. Now you got to shop at Walmart. And now Niger is saying, hey, sorry, you're not going to use our country to transport your natural gas into Europe. Get out of here. So Europe is facing catastrophe with no Nord Stream pipeline coming from Russia any longer. And now the threat of this pipeline being shut down through Africa. This was their salvation, this pipeline. And then add into it uranium and Europe's nuclear power. The United States gets over 50% of its uranium from Russia, despite all of the sanctions that the United States has placed against Russia. They left uranium off the list. I love this. I love that they chose to sanction every other thing, but they left uranium off the list because we need it so badly. We need it desperately. Why? The United States is so heavily dependent on Russia for uranium that Putin could literally flip a switch, literally destroy the American economy by turning off the lights. A major backup resource of uranium is Niger. The French, the United States have been essentially stealing uranium from African countries for decades. And again, these countries are saying enough is enough. We are sovereign countries. Get out of here. We are going to keep our own minerals and make our own decisions. And Russia is giving them that option right now. We want you to keep your sovereignty. We want you to be an independent country, not a slave to the West. Listen to Africa Bureau Chief Musa Ibrahim explain how the people of Africa want to gain back their wealth, their minerals, stop giving it away to America and Europe.
What people want is to gain back their wealth, back their uranium, their gold, their iron, their phosphate, their oil, their gas. And this scares the West because this means the true democracy will take place in Africa when people actually own their own land and the wealth of Africa does not go untaxed, unsupervised from the mines in Niger to the banks of Paris and the financial sector in Britain.
And he's right. Niger's coup isn't happening in a vacuum. This isn't a singular event. They're now pushing back against this neocolonialism in a larger multipolar world, saying this unipolar order that America has ruled for many, many years, seeking to keep your boot on the people of Africa, is not going to stand anymore. Africans are seeking to regain their national sovereignty. Africa saying, hey, we are rich in uranium, but we don't get to benefit from any of it because you steal it from us. We will enrich our own uranium and we will sell it to you and you'll pay us for it. No more theft. Africa is in the middle of a revolution right now. Take a look at this map just published on Friday. These are all of the African nations that have now signed military agreements with Russia. And even a few of those in white are getting ready to partner with Russia as well. Damn, that's a lot of red. Now, we'll come back to that map in a moment. But first, this weekend, we saw dramatic developments, Russian flags raised in the air throughout the continent. First to Niger, the country that started it all. Russian flags everywhere. And according to France 24 news service, the government of Niger has now signed a contract with the Russian Wagner Group for security. And they need it because the coup in Niger has entered the point of no return right now. The people rising up against France, against the United States' influence in that country. The Western powers that have controlled Niger for decades are now being pushed out. And this weekend, the military leaders now say that Niger will no longer be a European colony. And they've demanded that all French soldiers get out now, get out of here, or face the consequences. Why does the United States even have troops in this country in the first place? Well, that's a great question. So get out of here, France, and get out of here, United States. You don't belong here. Over the past few days, the United States started dropping massive amounts of military cargo right near the Niger border with its warplanes. But that threat is not stopping the people of Niger. Tens of thousands of people marching in that country this weekend, celebrating their independence and shouting no to foreign military bases, no to poverty, no to the West stealing their uranium, their phosphate, and other minerals. Get out of here now. All of the ambassadors' offices to the Niger Republic Mission Service, the United States, France, Nigeria, and Togo have all been terminated. All of their offices are now officially shut down by the Niger government. The head of the military just made this announcement. So other African nations are now showing their support for Niger and starting to say the very same thing. Get out of our country. This weekend, the people in Senegal rising up against Western colonial governments controlling their country. The CIA, MI6, and other Western intelligence services are doing whatever they can right now, spinning their wheels, trying to hold on to power in these countries with their puppet governments. The people in West Africa are fiercely anti-American imperialism. So it wasn't a surprise then to see the country of Guinea announce they are supporting Niger as well.
La République de Guinée réaffirme par ce communiqué sa vision panafricaniste en apportant sa solidarité à la population nigérienne.
This is massive. Colonel Douglas McGregor says the people who've had their minerals stolen for years are saying enough is enough. Get out of my country.
The Africans are fed up with it. And so this is an example in Niger where a supposedly U.S.-backed government with a U.S.-trained military suddenly turned around and said, I think all of you white people need to get out of here. We've had it with you. Go away. Go. Europeans leave.
Now, things are happening, my people, as you can see, with all the videos that have been played. And man, oh my goodness. Everywhere you turn, people are saying Nigerians are the sellouts. I don't know if any of you have heard that one though, but that's the word. That's the word about town right now. Like, Nigerians are the ones that are actually preventing the progress in Africa. I go leave you to answer that question. Whether you think, in your opinion, because when they say Nigerians, they're referring to the so-called corrupt politicians, the puppets that we have up there. Even though, yes, we know even amongst us as people, we have some that money is the only language they understand. So as long as you throw money at them, they're willing to sell themselves, their families out for nothing. Is it true that Nigerians are the ones standing in the way of progress in Africa? Nigerians in conjunction with the so-called West. Anybody want to get answer to that question, I beg, feel free to help me respond. Because Nigeria is not looking good though among other African countries. We dey talk say make we unite. Before we unite, we need to fix ourselves. Because we're so divided. It's not even funny. We're so divided on along tribal lines, religious lines, even small villages. within Nigeria. This one go say I'm from this village here, so I don't talk to the person in this village. It's crazy. You see say work plenty for us to do. Work e plenty. And then on top of that, where is the military that this man in Aso Rock or wherever he is, where are they? Is it the ones that half of that Boko Haram have finished? Between Boko Haram bandits and terrorists, they have finished some of them, because I don't understand, you know. And then I recently saw a video about the Gambian president also threatening, hey God, hey, also threatening that they are going to be joining with ECOWAS. I just laugh. I said, these people don't know what they are asking for. They have no idea. They are really puppet masters. They use them. No wonder. No wonder we know they ever, if we vote for election, not be how we want make it turn out, not be in the turnout. No wonder. Now it is very so clear now. There's a reason behind it. And just like the video I played, the ned media, you have all your bases around. You dey see when these schools dey happen, you dey see the terrorist attacks, the bandits dey, you don't do anything. Now when your interests are being not be say na you even get the property, the resources, you are now shaking, you are now threatening, you are now saying you want to invade a sovereign nation. They are tired. In case the West does not know, all Africans are tired. Everybody is tired of what is going on. Everybody is looking for a way to push back on all of this. It is tiring. Eh? It is tiring. Country wey you dey steal from, no light, no electricity, no infrastructure, no water. The lives of the people are not improving, God forbid. Eh? And then I was listening to an interview, I think it was one of the PDP chieftain. I don't remember his name now. He's an elderly man. I can't remember his name. Even the way he was talking, he dey talk with colonial mentality, trying to compare the British colonial rule versus the French differentiate. In my mind, I'm like, see as this thing dey sweet for this man mouth dey talk. No wonder those people at that age, I don't know, it's not all of them, but majority of them, they are stuck in that colonial way of thinking. They feel this, they have this, there's this sense of I better pass my francophone brother because say na British. And it's crazy. It's so crazy to me. Oh, eh? These people have failed every turn. Exactly, Dr. Paul, you're right. You're absolutely right about the image of the president is what Nigeria is abroad. So a lot, all you go on social media, that's all they're talking about. Like Nigerians are the ones, they are the saboteurs, they are the ones that have been preventing progress, they are the ones that this West use to fight the other Western countries. And all the times, all the fight when we don't fight, apparently we don't gain anything from inside though. In fact, it was at our own expense. Eh? They won't use brother head hit brother, and then you go come the head, then they carry the fight when e no concern you. You don't care about your people. The man wey dey Aso Rock dey look for every means to be validated, because you know say na thief reach there. See now, Otobo Keyamo, they don finally confirm that man. If that doesn't tell you the end of it all, I don't know what else will. If somebody like Otobo Keyamo go enter, hey God, Otobo Keyamo, with all the atrocities, with all the lies, with all the fake news that he peddled, that man, they gave him minister. Where is the hope? I don't know. Where's the hope? Oh? because I don't understand what's going on. This man is just accepting people that can steal, lie. That's all. People when you fit thief, when you fit lie for am, na only those ones e dey na those ones e dey surround himself with. Those are the only people he surrounds himself with. He doesn't care about anybody. Ah, God. E be like Ali Baba and the 40 thieves. This one dey reach like 1,000 thieves. Honestly.
Ivory Coast, Senegal, and Benin say they'll participate in ECOWAS's military coalition to restore democracy.
So this is actually going to wind up being a complete and utter mess. What I think the West does not understand about Africa is that citizens of Africa, West Africa, members of South Africa in particular, feel as though the West and the rest of the world, in all honesty, has always come to Africa to exploit and extract. Most African citizens do not support their governmental leadership or their presidents. So this idea that ECOWAS can just start a military operation and invade, when French West Africa in particular, I'm talking about the previous colonial territories of France, have extreme anti-French sentiment. I do not think that the United States, France, and the rest of like the NATO coalition and their African, governmental agents of democracy, because these motherfuckers are not democratic. They only have power because the West lets them have power, and they treat their citizens like shit. None of these citizens, not even the citizens of Nigeria, do not like the fucking government. Like, it's like not understanding, one, Black people at all, or having any connections with people who live in Africa. The only people who benefit from these governments are the bourgeois, like capitalists, people with wealth. Everybody else is suffering. If this military operation happens, and this is just a prediction, and the West's goal is to stop Russia from building relations in Africa. If this happens, they finna learn. Listen, African people on the continent are tired of the West shit. And now you trying to make them fight wars against fellow Africans? You trying to have Black people kill fellow Black people on the fucking motherland? When I tell you the West is about to shoot themselves in the foot, I mean like they are going to take a shit. When I tell you they are about to shoot themselves in the foot, I do not think they understand what is coming. And this will be a catastrophe. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, nor do I want to jinx us or make a false prediction. But this very well may be the precursor to an actual next World War conflict. And it will cause immediate decay, an ethnic decay, I predict. And I think Black people and people who are descendants of the global South everywhere will learn and revolt against their Western overlords. This will be a critical mistake. It will be a horrible mistake.
That naive they're here, because there are warmongers. There are people literally living to see this. I mean, I don't know if you guys, let me play a video of, I think one of they sent one of the American representatives to, let me share this. Let me see. Let me share this first.
With coups happening left and right in Africa, especially in Western region like Burkina Faso, Mali, now Niger, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's speech is going viral again. We've covered her before because she seems to not like President Macron at all.
Questo è un bambino che lavora in una miniera d'oro in Burkina Faso. Il Burkina Faso è una delle nazioni più povere del mondo. Per il Burkina Faso, che ha l'oro, la Francia stampa moneta coloniale. In cambio pretende che finiscano nelle casse del tesoro francese il 50% di tutto quello che il Burkina Faso esporta. L'oro che questo bambino si infila in un cunicolo per tirare fuori finisce per lo più nelle casse dello Stato francese. Allora la soluzione non è prendere gli africani e spostarli in Europa, la soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron ci ha definiti vomitevoli, cinici, irresponsabili. E qui la stampa italiana a dire, hai visto che ha detto Macron, che siamo irresponsabili. Vergogna. Irresponsabile Emmanuel Macron sono quelli che hanno bombardato la Libia perché gli dava fastidio che l'Italia avesse un rapporto privilegiato in campo energetico con Gheddafi, esponendoci al caos migrazione nel quale ci troviamo. Cinici Emmanuel Macron sono i francesi che mandano la gendarmerie a rispedire indietro qualunque immigrato tenti di passare il confine a Ventimiglia. Ma soprattutto, perché le cose vanno raccontate come si deve, vomitevole è chi... Buono, che lo vuoi tu? Ci hai mai tolto il parto? Vomitevole è chi, come la Francia, continua a sfruttare l'Africa stampando moneta per 14 nazioni africane sulle quali applica il signoraggio, facendo lavorare bambini nelle miniere, estraendo materie prime come accade in Niger, dove la Francia estrae il 30% dell'uranio che gli serve a far camminare le centrali nucleari e il 90% dei nigerini vive senza elettricità. Non ci venire a fare lezioni, Macron, perché l'Africa scappa da voi e la soluzione non è spostare gli africani in Europa, è liberare l'Africa da certi europei. Non accettiamo lezioni.
Long and short, leave Africa and their resources alone. Now you make them dey rush come Europe. Now you, Macron, now you. That's what Meloni was telling. That me just dey break am down for now. Now the summary be that. Now you see the people you dey use stay work, all the small children when you dey use stay work. You go use their work finish, pay them next to nothing. When they go park on, na Italy they park on. Now because of you, now we get messy immigration. That's so they talk am. You know, for those who don't understand, I just broke it down to you so that you will understand what she's trying to say. You know, these people don't care about anybody else but themselves. They don't care. The system is rotten. Do you know how many people? You know, say the poverty level don't high where now. They don't add how many millions join again. Now Nigeria is the second country with the highest unemployment. Now the everything I told. Nigeria is the highest right now of the most people with no employment.
More Nigerians have joined the advising of the Economic Community of West African States on the dangers of using military might to suppress this coup in Niger Republic. They claim dialogue remains the best way out of the impasse, insisting that deploying troops to fight the military junta would rather compound security, social, and economic challenges in Nigeria, Niger, and the other neighboring countries. ECOWAS had last week issued a 7-day ultimatum to the Niger junta to return power to deposed President Mohamed Bazoum, or it would deploy military force. A social political activist, Madi Shehu, joins us now to discuss the mounting opposition from the north to ECOWAS using force in Niger and how best to handle the crisis in the West African country. Good afternoon. Great to have you on Arise News. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So, Mr. Shehu, we have seen over the course of time, historically speaking, the results of invasions or foreign powers helping out other sovereign nations in order to solve their own regional issues. Libya and Iraq are just two of those examples, and it ended quite devastatingly. What do you see as the most reasonable way to handle the situation as it is right now? We do know that there's going to be a meeting of ECOWAS on Thursday, this emergency meeting. We know the deadline has passed. What are the options here?
Well, I think the first option is if only ECOWAS had become prisoners of history, they would have acted differently. A prisoner of history is that person who learns lessons from history. If only they recall what happened in Iraq, what happened in Bosnia-Herzegovina, what happened in Somalia, what happened in Libya, in Afghanistan, and the devastating effect of interference into the internal affairs of a country, they would have acted differently. Rather than being prisoners of history, they opted to become prisoners of geography, where they feel they can look at a map, dissect that map, and cherry pick. ECOWAS cherry-picked and made Niger Republic a victim. Rather than looking at the other countries, there are 4 or 5 other countries that are under military rule now. When they took over their countries, ECOWAS was not in slumber. They were not sleeping. They were well alive and active. They looked away because there was no clear vested interest around to protect. But with Niger, America is visibly interested. With Niger, UK is an interested party. With Niger, they can split fire for them to protect America and the UK. And they are making the biggest mistake of their lives. Let Thursday come. Let ECOWAS move their own troops to decimate, to obliterate, and to destroy Niger. And they think other countries are going to just fold their own arms. They will not fold their arms. They are going to fight back. And they are underrating the war in the manner a camel underrates scorpion. Ask anybody who knows the desert very well. The smallest insect that gives camel the biggest headache in life is the scorpion. The moment a camel sees a scorpion, it runs like hell because the scorpion kills the camel in spite of the size. In this case, Niger is the scorpion, ECOWAS will be the camel. It will just be a matter of days and time. In international politics, you don't cherry pick what you want to destroy. You don't cherry pick. They are cherry picking on Niger. And it is an unavoidable blunder. Here is a country, Nigeria, that has multitudinal, multidimensional, endless social, political, economic, and all other problems remaining unsolved, still counting. People are living in abject poverty. You don't even have money to pay arrears, no money for infrastructure, no money for this, no money, and you think you have money to lead a war because other countries in ECOWAS don't have the money. Nigeria will fund this war, and Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to fund this war.
Duly noted, Mr. Shehu. Of course, you stating that Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to fund this war. Speaking of Nigeria, one of the questions that we'd like to ask you is why the northern part of Nigeria, why northerners are vehemently against military operations in this Niger coup. Could you give us some insight on that?
It's not only the north. Get the demography very well. Go to Niger Republic. Get the demography of Nigerians that are staying in Niger Republic. They are Hausas, Yorubas, Igbos, Fulanis, Kanuris, Birams, Ganauris. Every tribe in Nigeria has a representation in Niger Republic. Therefore, don't look at it as a northern affair. It's not a northern affair. Maybe predominantly northerners are there, but there are so many other ethnic tribes of Nigerian extraction that are living in Niger and be living in Niger. They have married there, they have invested there. Therefore, attacking Niger is not only attacking the north, it's attacking the entire Nigeria. Maybe that is another way of saying that maybe Tinubu dreamt in the spirit of Gideon Oka, who wanted to excise the entire north out of Nigeria. Let him decimate the entire north. And let's see what he's going to get out. If he's not careful, he will lose more than ECOWAS. If he loses more than ECOWAS, he will lose Nigeria. There is no way you can go to a war in Nigeria involving more than 50 million people, and you think you can just look away, you go and sleep, and you sip some tea and feel comfortable and order a military Askashi into Niger. Let him go ahead and do that. We are waiting for him to do that. We are not afraid of that. Let him attack Niger, please. Yesterday, in a manner of speed, not even today. Let ECOWAS on Thursday order for a military invasion of Niger. Not Thursday, but please today on Tuesday. We are waiting for it to happen.
We hope not to. It's the proverbial rock between a hard place. In one situation, we have a country like Nigeria that isn't completely politically stable in and of itself. And then we have another country right next to it, well, a bunch of countries that have military juntas who are at the helm, and they seem quite politically unstable as well. Military governments. Right now, it seems like President Tinubu has a lot on his plate. He must be extremely stressed out. How heavily does his credibility hang on how he handles this Niger situation?
Well, already, even before the Niger situation, he has credibility issues surrounding his person, his personality, his genealogy, his political affiliation, his votes, his declaration. This is enough baggage for him. Now, on his own, he elected personally. And he invited stress and placed on his head. Unfortunately,
can I just say, this man, he get his own way of giving woto, even though we know that this guy, I think he was supporting Atiku. This guy was supporting Atiku. But the way they dish him out to Agbado, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I just have to say that.
He doesn't have the head to shoulder that tension, to shoulder that stress. If you remember, there are two rivals in Arrow of God. One of them is Nwaka of Idimili. The other one is Ezulu of Ulu. The two of them have been at loggerheads. They have been fighting. And in trying to paint the scenario the way it is, Achebe did a proverb, which I love always, that I prefer to deal with somebody who calls for war and put his head. I prefer to deal with people who throw a stone up there and put their head to receive it. There's somebody who calls for war, and when it comes, he trembles and passes a premature shit. This is a war that Tinubu cannot afford. Physically, psychologically, intellectually, militarily, the capacity is not there. Yeah. I think he is using this war as an alibi. As what? As a cover. To do what? To ensure the war comes between Nigeria, ECOWAS, and Niger, and then that will make him invoke a constitutional provision for emergency rule. That will not happen. Nigerians are much, much wiser. We have seen in other military, just like you said, in other military, and other countries where military are, they are stable. They have no business going to Niger. If the choice of Nigerian people to assage for their own frustration is a military rule, and they have welcomed it, so be it. Where was ECOWAS when other countries were being taken over by military? Where was America? Where is the UK? Where are all these pretenders of democracy? Where were they? If military rule is an option to irresponsible leadership, to fraud in governance, to betrayal of trust, to cherry picking of enemies, so be it.
Mr.
If
Shehu,
civilian president don't like coup, if civilian president don't like coup, they should be democratic, they should be responsible, and they should be answerable. Short of that, coup will always be an option for people who are aggrieved.
Nothing but
noted. Of course, we'll have other elements to explore with you, but I would like to go back to some of the statements that you've made here. You mentioned that if the president is not careful, he will lose more than ECOWAS, he will lose Nigeria. And when referring to the president exploring military options, you stated and I quote, "We are waiting for him to do that." So I'm just wondering, when you say you're waiting for him to do that, what reaction, since you're also a political activist, what reaction do you have in store if should he choose to explore the military option?
I saw war, I saw bombing, I saw shooting.
When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, the next 3 hours, the president of the US then, George Bush Sr., went on the air and said, "This is my last message to Saddam Hussein. Get out of Iraq or you lose more than Iraq." He refused to go out and he lost Iraq. If Tinubu decided to go and invade, along with ECOWAS, to invade Niger, he will lose more than ECOWAS, because definitely we are going to the polls anytime, any day, anytime soon. We'll go back to the votes. We'll go back to the polling stations. And that is when Nigerians will realize that they have been called upon in the past. Be wary, be careful, beware of a Tinubu presidency. They didn't hear. Now we are seeing the manifestation of absolute failure and incapacity, inability, and lack of experience. Only an inexperienced president, barely 3 months in an office, can begin to think of war. Therefore, our option, violence is not an option. Our options are always, under democracy, our voters' card, our voices, our communication, our resolve to work in team and ensure that people who are bloodthirsty, who cannot go to the blood bank and get a blood, rather they want a fresh blood, will not govern Nigeria, will not preside over Nigeria, and will not continue to decide the fate of Nigerians. Already it's a country where everybody is on his own, everybody for himself, survival of the fittest. The devil take the hindmost. People are angry, they are hungry. Businesses have been crippled. Relationships have been destroyed. And yet under this terrible situation, somebody is thinking of war. Perish that thought of going to war. But for war, let him go to war. In war, there are multiple casualties from both ends. Only God knows who are going to be the casualties of the war between Nigeria. In fact, it's even between Nigeria, because Nigeria will sponsor this war, either by getting loan or by mortgaging anything. Other ECOWAS countries are gasping. They are economically dispossessed. They are down. They are below zero line. Let us see how under this situation, he will go and borrow money to fund a war, a white-collar war, a war of emotions, and a war that will take him nowhere.
And a war that is sure to create havoc within our continent, not just the Western region, but all through.
Extensive havoc.
And
extensive havoc.
And as students of history, you can enlighten us some more about this, but you were speaking about who will foot the bill for the war. We're still paying for our very valiant efforts in Sierra Leone and Liberia, in which Nigeria did shelve most of the cost for that. We do know that there is a cost of living crisis that is biting us quite severely, as many as are clamoring for palliatives. But I want to move away from that and ask about the intervention of foreign powers. Still more on being a student of history. Historically speaking, we have seen this happen in many regions. Right now, it is a power play between France and Russia, it seems. We know that the former French colonies are super annoyed with with France. They don't want anything to do with them. We've seen them expel them over the last couple of months. And here comes Russia, who is fighting its own war and creating havoc internationally speaking. We have the Wagner troops who have decided to help liberate Niger. In such situations where people of a different skin color or a different background and different heritage come to liberate us, we do know that it ends not always the way that we plan. Can you speak about Russia's role in the Niger war, and also France as well?
It's not a fight between France and Russia as such. There are three parties versus a party.
Proxies.
The first party is America. Second party is the UK. The third party is the collective union of Europe altogether put together. On one hand, on the other hand, you have Russia. All of them are not in Niger, will not be in Niger for God and country. No, they are there for economic reasons. America, Europe, and France are feeling the pain of the dominance of Russia in their energy requirements. 80% of the energy requirement in Europe comes from Russia. Therefore, they are looking for a way out. The only way out they had was they funded a so-called pipe, AKK file of gas, running through Niger right into Europe so that it would checkmate the excesses and the dominance of Russia in supplying energy. This is the great opportunity for Russia to ensure that that project will not go on. America, Europe, and France will have to continue depending on Russia's gas and energy for any time to, for a long, very long time to come. Therefore, it's a convergence of hypocrisy, cherry picking, wickedness, man's inhumanity to man, and power against weakness. They are feasting on Niger simply because they are fighting a proxy war. Niger is inconsequential if there was no uranium in Niger. If there was no this pipeline of gas in Niger, it would have been nothing. When you say liberating Niger, I just laugh before I come to comment on it. What are you liberating there? Niger is the second poorest country in the world. Their per capita is virtually below zero if you compare to any of the international currencies.
Imagine.
The educational sector is virtually zero. Health sector, virtually zero. No agriculture, nothing. They have not been liberated of hunger, of starvation, of backwardness, of ignorance, of environmental challenge. They are coming to liberate them, to liberate their own uranium.
Exactly.
They are coming to destroy them. They are coming to annihilate them. They are coming to exterminate them. They are coming to obliterate them simply because of man's inhumanity to man. They have refused to learn a lesson in Afghanistan. After decades of war, they ran out. America has forgotten how it went. It's a small country, Somalia. During Mohammed Farah ID, during those presidents, they went into Somalia and they ran out. Their militaries were being dragged in the city of Somalia. Have they forgotten about that?
Mr.
Have they forgotten how they created millions of orphans in Iraq, in Iran, in Syria?
Mr. Shehu, apologies for interrupting, but we do have 3 minutes with you. I'd like to give you the opportunity to give us your what you think the solution and the way forward best approach would be regarding this situation, please.
The solution is that ECOWAS, through its own chairman, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, should look inwards. They should retract. They are already at war with Niger. They have cut up light, closed all borders, placed all other embargoes on them, air, sea, land embargo. This is clinically war. It's a clinical war. Clearly, a war is already happening in Niger. ECOWAS and Tinubu should look back, look inwards, retract, become prisoners of history, avoid being prisoners of geography, think wisely, act wisely, behave wisely before it is too little too late. Otherwise, this will be the end of ECOWAS. There are already 9 countries that will willingly opt out of ECOWAS. And if 9 countries go out of ECOWAS, what will remain of ECOWAS will be the dream of daydreamers, the pain of the painful, and the stupidity of the stupid will be the only thing remaining.
But just since ECOWAS is relatively divided on this, quickly, do you think the AU should be the one doing the mediation at this point in time? Briefly, please.
AU are also an appendix.
Exactly.
There is a clear, direct, indirect, tangential, and linear relationship between AU and ECOWAS. They will do nothing different from ECOWAS. There is nothing like what are you mediating? It's laughable when you send the Sultan of Sokoto, a retired Brigadier General, Abdul Salam Abubakar, a former military, all of them beneficiaries of a coup. to go and negotiate with coup plotters. It's really laughable. It's ironical. And it shows how daft some people are in policy formulation and execution.
Well, Mahdi Shehu, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for the conversation. And we can...
I'm not going to lie, I gbadun this man interview. The subtle, the jabs, man, they were like heavyweight punches. I'm telling you, you know. And it's true. You want to fight your own brother for a pipeline that has gone through their own, that you are passing through their state to Europe. Meanwhile, your people are living in abject poverty. You never solve. No wonder this man was always running to France. No, I said it then. I was like, there's something cool. This man is always going to France. Who knows what they have promised him? Who knows what this man has signed? This is part of the conversations that he was having while he was in France. Because the French need him, they need Nigeria. So if they have their man there, it's going to do their bidding. That is it. And the other, I think it was 2 lives ago, I brought an article here where they were saying, the French newspaper was saying that this is the time for Agbado to prove that he can be tough on defense. Hey, Egbami. Eh?
And a lot of countries in Africa are calling out Nigerians now because we are a sellout. Nigeria is a sellout. Nigeria has betrayed the African continent. We sold out to the colonialists. We are beggars. We are stooges. We are a vassal of Britain and France. And we are the ones causing all the problems in Africa. Nigeria is a sellout on the continent of Africa. We are a disgrace. And this is clear for every other African to see now. Now, let me make this clear. All Africans have seen who the true enemy is on the continent of Africa. They have seen clearly why there's no progress in Africa is because of Nigeria. Nigeria has sold out to the colonial masters. They have sold out to the French and the British and the Americans, and they are doing that so that there will be love. And that is why our economy is so bad today. And that is why they are stealing oil from Nigeria and the leaders are not saying anything. Everybody now in Africa knows that countries like Nigeria and Ghana and Senegal are selling information to the West and preventing African unity.
Now here, all the Nigerians, Mona can't defend yourself. Whether na lie, this man lie. Whether na lie with what the leaders are doing. People should come and defend yourself now. Come and talk and say, oh no, actually, I want to hear. I would like to hear.
I've listened to the general of Niger. You know, he said something very sad. Very sad. He said, for so many years, we could spot the terrorists. And when we spot the terrorists, we have to inform the president, who is the ousted President Bazoum, that we have spotted the terrorists on this place and that place and that place. And the president could say, before you go and attack the terrorists, inform the Americans and the French. There will be a delayment from the commander-in-chief, who is the president, who has to inform his counterparts, the French and the West. Maybe after 4 to 5 hours, the Niger military will be called in that, okay, we can go to fight the terrorists. And when they get to that place, there will be no more terrorists. Did you ask yourself why? Because the terrorists are serving the interest of the presidents. The terrorists are serving the interest of the West. So after 4 to 5 hours, when we go there looking for the terrorists, they will be hidden in the military bases of the French and the military bases of the Americans. This is how they benefit from terrorism in Africa. I've already seen a video of the United Nations troops that are stationed in Democratic Republic of Congo. They have been apprehended with gold, kgs and kgs of gold. They will be there like they are here to maintain peace, like they are here to protect us, like they are here with the so-called humanitarian aid. like they are here with non-governmental organizations, but hell no, they are here for our resources. Like I said last time, that can you imagine if Russia is defeated by the West, what is going to happen to Africa? As we are talking right now, France could have dropped an atomic bomb. The airstrikes could have been witnessed in Niger long time ago. But they are scared that, okay, if we go and attack Niger, how about Russia? We are provoking Russia. Russia will intervene. But NATO could have been there already. That is why I said we need Russia to have our nuclear weapons so that we can protect ourselves. After that, the Russians can go and we'll manage our resources and govern ourselves.
Cool. I agree with him. I mean, because Africa not ready for that kind kasala when won't come. Africa not ready. Where the equipment? Where they don't deplete. Nigeria get army again. The army morale very low. They don't deplete. Even I was reading something somewhere. I can't forget where now, where one of the soldiers was accusing the generals of mismanagement and ill treatment. Eh? The army has its issues. You don't consult anybody. They don't give am billions of money. Na only that one they see. You know, they even consider the people when he say he wan be president. I wan be president over. It's my time. Emilio kan no vision, nothing. Doesn't even know no manifesto. No, he just dey Peter Obi manifesto. Then the man carry just dey copy. He just dey copy. You no know wetin dey copy. Man. Nigeria, God abeg.
These people are forever supporting opposition. So even if opposition they are supporting today wins, tomorrow they no longer support them. Whoever is opposition, that's who they support. Serious man is going to support opposition. Serious man is going on to support all these quote-unquote terrorists. We don't have a single gun manufacturing plant in Africa.
Exactly.
Where are the guns? Follow the guns. If you follow the guns, you know where the money is coming from. You know who the real enemy is. If you look at the situation, I was listening to President of Barbados. She hit the nail in the head when she was talking about the funds for terrorism and money laundering. She said when they were looking for money laundering from Russia, they didn't come to Africa. They didn't go to the Caribbean. They knew exactly where to go. Are you with me? So let's stop playing games here. They know
what they're doing, and I hear you, but I want to see whether there is any accountability on us.
Absolutely. We are accountable. Here's how I summarize it very simply. You are the bully, and you're taking 80% of my lunch every day. And then because you are the bully and you got the money, now all you want me to do is highlight how I'm failing to make it with the 20%. But you don't want me to talk about the 80% that you're taking from me. So now we are foolish enough to be allowed our own people to be used to highlight the failures within the 20%. Yes, we could do something with that 20%. But golly, if that pie was bigger, if this would stop taking my 80%, pardon my language, but it is the truth. You know, I'm saying let's come together, deal with this. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it because it needs to be said.
But
they need to stop taking our lunch.
And I hear you, and I'm coming back to you and saying yes. Let's stand together and ask for them to account for the 80%. Let's stand together.
My brother, I'm trying. You have 6 people in your family. 3 are getting brown envelopes to say what they want them to say. There's so many brown envelopes.
flying around.
So the question then becomes, how do we train the African not to be used as an instrument of your own self-destruction? That's where we need to go back to.
I'm going to throw the question back
Just
at you.
mind.
How do we do it?
Speak the truth. Let's teach our children our history. Our people do not know our history. We need to arouse the spirit of Pan-Africanism in each and every one of us. We must be very clear about one thing in Africa. The hidden hand is real, the hidden hand is strong, and the hidden hand is very powerful. That is where we need to begin. Everything else that follows is a consequence of. We must understand the enemy, that big, powerful, strong, hidden hand. Let's deal with it.
Yeah, you're right, Kenneth. She's been talking for a long time. I've watched a lot of her speeches. The woman has been talking. Maybe that's why they made her step down from as African Union, whether she was a secretary or something. That's why they made her step down now. She was hitting on the on France, man. She was really like, now I make the tell the woman may step down. I remember. Africa.
Fellow Africans, I want to say without fear of doubt that we do not need a united Africa, because Africans can never be united. Before you start complaining, which is your nature, let me explain to you what I'm saying. What are the challenges that you're facing in your countries? You have corruption, you have an imperial leadership, people having contrary opinions are beaten, killed, maimed, exiled. All your taxes are being pocketed by your politicians. You have ethnic or tribal clashes every time. You have xenophobic attacks. You have coups after coups after coups. So Africans, if you're saying we unite, what are we uniting? Do we want to unite all these bad manners? I'm talking to you Africans. Just amongst ourselves, can we live with each other in peace? We cannot. Look, in my country, Kenya, we have what we call tribalism. People hate each other along tribal lines. Even as Ugandans, you cannot unite and call each other Ugandans. Even as South Africans, you cannot unite and call each other South Africans. Even as Nigerians, you cannot unite and simply be Nigerians. There has to be a Christian hating a Muslim. There has to be a Cushite hating a Bantu. There has to be a Nilot hating another Bantu. There has to be an Afrikaner hating another Cushite. Africans do not even like themselves. How the hell are you going to unite? Before you point your accusing fingers at the Western countries, at the Americans, at the Chinese, remember, 4 other fingers are pointing back at you. The problem is not the Westerners. The problem is not the Chinese or the Russians or the Americans. The problem is in Africa. And guess what? It is very easy for an African to blame an American, to blame a British about things that were done to them over 200 years ago. But it is so hard for an African to talk about how they're treating their citizens right now. Every jail in Africa has people rotting in jail, political prisoners, opposition leaders. Every country in the world has an African who has run away from his motherland to live peacefully in exile. The problem is Africa. We complain too much about how France is taking a lot of our minerals. We worry so much about how American culture is eroding our own culture. We worry about foreign religion, and we are part of those foreign religions. We cannot unite xenophobia. We cannot unite dictators. We cannot unite poverty. We cannot unite ethnic, tribal clashes. If we unite all our problems, where are we going with our problems? Let us fix ourselves first in your respective countries before you start yapping about united African. Even in your own African village, the smallest village where you come from, you cannot unanimously come up with a meeting and agree on terms and conditions and the way you live as a community, how are you going to unite and create a united Africa? We should unite for a good reason, not because we have a common enemy to fight. I have finished.
This guy be like village, he be like a village elder. He has finished oh, but now wetin na true he talk. He's speaking truth. Even within our community, small community, next village for here, this one go say no, we no dey interact with the next village people because dem dey wear white cloth, we no dey wear white cloth. The tiniest of the village go say no, I no dey agree with the other one because dem no dey wear shoe waka, na leg dey take dey walk. It's crazy, it's crazy.
The impact of European and American and Russian and Chinese interference is a raw wound. It is not something that is in the past. It is something that is happening as we speak. And therefore, when we speak to it, we are speaking to it to warn ourselves of the reality. When we speak about the Danidas and the NGOs, these are bodies whose raison d'etre is to ensure that we remain in a perpetual state of begging. That is what we are doing to warn ourselves. And we are not for 1 minute saying that we will shut ourselves out from the rest of the world. What we are saying is that we must define how we engage with the whole world. And we are saying that as individual countries, we are weak, and the rest of the world wants to operate and to deal with us in our weak state. The United States of America are dealing with Rwanda on second-hand clothing. Rwanda cannot resist them. Burundi cannot. Kenya cannot. Uganda cannot. But if we are East Africa with a population of 300 million, we can. If we are SADC, we can. If we are ECOWAS, we can. So this is what we are saying. And we are saying further that going forward, we must also recognize our internal weaknesses. And what is our weaknesses? Chinua Achebe said it very well. The problem of Africa is simply and squarely one of political leadership. The rank of many political leaders in Africa are thieves.
Yes.
Let's call them by their name.
Yes.
They are thieves. They are individuals who are not interested in the interest of this country.
No.
And as long as we continue electing such individuals into positions of power across Africa, they are going to be manipulated. What then is the responsibility of the citizenry? The responsibility of the citizenry is to make demands. The chairman here, I hope he has received the several letters that I have written to him. I've written several letters to his organization talking about the role of the African Union in peacemaking. I wrote to the chairman only last week about the situation in Sudan, saying we must solve our own problems. And I want to see a crusading African Union, so that it's not the Americans and the Saudi Arabians who are summoning them to Jeddah. It should be in Addis Ababa. In a nutshell, Joe, what I'm saying is that we have a responsibility to ourselves, both at the leadership level and at levels of the civic society. We must be engaged in a positive manner, and we must keep on shouting without being diplomatic, because diplomacy is lulling us into a false sense of security. And lastly, I want to say this. When foreign powers come, we must always be reminded of these goodies that they bring to us. It used to be said of the Trojan War that even when the Greeks bear a gift, they do not mean well. They never mean well. And the sooner we say it, recognizing the external threat, recognize.
Hey, my people, there's nothing else to say. Oh. There is nothing else to say, man. He has said it all. He has said it all. There's a lot of work to be done. There's no two way about it. So much work. My own is that all those money bags that they put in the that are ministers, all those people that are surrounding Agbado, all they think about is money. My own is that they should not go and use their greed to plunge Nigeria into a war that they cannot finish. I don't know why brother will fight against brother for the interest of an outsider. I don't understand it. Even if you don't see your brother every day, at least you know he lives in your backyard. Will you now intentionally invite the enemies to invade just because they have given you money? Is this not how slave trade happened? This is how it happened, where people were selling their own people because they give them mirror, they give them chewing gum, chocolate. They never see those kind of things before. Then they start to dey sell their brothers and sisters. Oh my God. Wo judiciary, na your eye we dey look oo. We no get anywhere else wey we dey look now. Me, I heard that they have whether there's rumor that or allegedly they're going to have the courthouse surrounded, because I think they're going to be giving the judgment next week. That's what I heard. They're going to have the courthouse surrounded because of fear of rioting, depending on who knows what type of judgment they want to give, that they are having the courthouse surrounded. Who knows what they are planning up their sleeves? They're going to have it surrounded with armed people. So my question to the armed people that they want to surround the building, the courthouse with, don't they live in Nigeria? Do they not have family that is starving and crying every day? That's my question. Abi, they want to say they don't know what's happening. They don't know what time it is. We await the judiciary. That's all I go talk. There's nothing else to say. My people, it's been real. I call it an early night today. Now, well done. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. I will see you guys on my next one. Have a wonderful rest of the day and stay cool because it's really cold. It's really hot out there. Thank you all. Bye.